Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a replay of a 4 versus 4 on Colombelles, and in this one I'm going to be using the 12th SS-Panzer. On my team today I have Kira, Jagdpanzers and Jagdpanzers, who are going to be using the 21st Panzer, 3rd Fallschirmjäger and the 116th Panzer, and on the Allied side we have Destroyer with the 2nd Armoured French, we have VulcanHDGaming with the 101st Airborne. There's ICMB Raptors, which isn't the YouTuber by the way. He's playing the 4th Armoured. I think that might be Captains. And then we have Zoppen, who's playing the Guards Armoured. So this was a game that was played on stream. Some of you guys may have already seen it if you caught up with my stream last weekend. Unfortunately, the VOD won't be available because of some emails showing up on the stream, so I've decided to keep it private and obviously not share it around. So you won't be able to see that, but I am going to be able to bring you this replay, which was a very, very good game. I had a lot of fun playing this one out. It was a very tough game. There was a lot of like back and forth and some really good things to talk about throughout, so that's why I'm focusing on it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in watching the stream at any point, it is going to be continuing every Saturday at 8 PM GMT. If it is any different, like if it's on Sunday for example instead of Saturday, I will let you guys know in the community tab of my YouTube channel. So just make sure that you keep an eye on that if you're ever wondering where I am. If there's not a stream on, the information will probably be there. So just bear that in mind. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention was make sure to check out the links in the description. I have a lot of really cool stuff down there, like a link to my Vulcan Donor War channel, for example, links to my Discord. And if you want to get involved in games of Steel Division with me off stream, then being on Discord is the best way to do so, because in the Steel Division discussion channel, I often post if people would like to play or not. So if you're interested in that, make sure you jump on the Discord. Let's have a look at what units I've put down. So I've got a couple of Speertrupp here. One is going to be going up the main road to just sit in this building. Basically gives me eyes up the road and to the left. Then we've got one heading towards this building. I wasn't planning to keep it here. It's going to be moving forwards with my Beuter Cromwell and the Beuter Firefly. So I brought in both at the start, accompanied by a Panzergrenadier that's just going to be running on foot behind them, the poor chap. It's just going to have to be trying to keep up. Then we got a Pak 38 on the left with 2 Panzergrens. One Panzergren for this building, really good defensive position for Panzergrens. And then we got another one for this building as well. These buildings with the extra range around them is really decent for the MG42s, and that's where the Panzergrenadiers really shine. So going for the double Beuter combo early on is actually really risky. But I'm going to be up against Destroyer throughout this, and he's playing the 2nd Armoured French. So the only thing that we need to be worried about in the early game is things like an M10. Otherwise, the Firefly just has to deal with Stuarts and potentially Bazooka Infantry. But the Bazooka Infantry of the 4th Armoured, or not the 4th, the 2nd Armoured, is not particularly great. Their command infantry is very lackluster with their bazooka. I think it has like 4 accuracy or something really, really bad. But meanwhile on the right side, VulcanHDG is going to be coming in hard onto Jagdpanzers. He's going to be using the 101st Airborne to really get the better of Jagdpanzers here. Jagdpanzers trying to drop some 210mm off map at the start, which is quite a cheesy thing to do, but it's up to Jagdpanzers if he does that or not. I'm trying to get my Beuter tanks into a better position here, because I don't really have too much information. Yes, I have my Speertrupp here, but I don't have any infantry that can really push this area right now. So I'm just kind of being a bit chill with my Beuter combo and looking for basically places to attack. Like my recon's just freely moving forwards, completely unharassed. So I'm a little unsure as to what I want to do. I could maybe try and drive into the gap here where the Speertrupp have me covered on both sides, but I'm just being very cautious about it right now. So I'm going to be bringing up another Panzergren anyway to potentially contest this area. I'm also going to be bringing in a mortar to get rid of enemy AT guns. with the help of the Beuter Cromwell. Yeah, the Spährupp, they're trying to make ground. This one's just going to take cover in these trees, and I've got this one that should be continuing to head forwards. Now, if I was smart, I would have zoomed in and saw that this was actually an AT gun here being carried by this Jeep. Although it doesn't have the AT gun sign next to it, if you do zoom in on Jeep models like that, it does reveal the location of those particular things. And I could have started fire positioning that Jeep early, which would have been a really smart thing to do, but yeah, during the stream I didn't notice, so that was just careless on my part. Now, apart from the M10s and the Stuarts, the 57mm cannons are the only thing I really have to worry about. But my Panzergrenz, they're going to be coming through in their half-track. I'm just trying to drive down that scout unit. But here comes the AT gun. First shot is going to drive a wound the Beuter Cromwell. Second shot's going to get the kill. Now, from that range, with 1-star veterancy, it was pretty lucky to hit the first shot. Second shot, maybe not so lucky, but either way, did put my Cromwell in a very tough position with the driver wound. It couldn't move, obviously, so the second shot was clean. Otherwise, I might have been able to reverse behind these buildings, but not to be. So my Beuter Firefly is left on its own, and I'm basically relying on the use of my Panzergrenz. And while this Panzergrenz unit has just been hit by the mortar, it's been hit by the 2-star 50 cal. And the 50 cal is also going to take out my half-track. That's the 2-star 50 cal that comes in with the Nueve. I think these things are really, really useful for the 2nd Armoured. And my Beuter Firefly is just chilling out on the right side. There's just not really many targets for me. The only target for the Beuter Firefly would be the M5A1. So Destroyer's done a really good job of having a composition of units that doesn't really give me any value from my Beuter units. Like, losing the Cromwell really put me in a tough position. Otherwise, I might have been able to be a lot more aggressive with the Panzer Grenadiers. Managed to get a direct hit there with the mortar onto the AT gun, but I think the AT gun does manage to get away on 1 health for the time being. But as you may be able to see on this right side, Jagdpanzers is going to be losing his off-map, and he's under a lot of pressure. So I'm going to be starting to bring in some units just to cut off the force through here from Vulcanhd. Now, a good combination versus these airborne units, as long as you maintain range from the bazookas, is the Panzergrenz. Because the Panzergrenz plus the MG from the half-track can really sort out these airborne rifles from range. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do here with this combination. And as this game continues, you'll start to see some really nice like half-track support play, which I was very much enjoying. But before that, a lot of pain. Panzergrenz are now going to be pinned down by that mortar. My mortar's trying to get onto his mortar since his is not in an armoured carrier. I do have the potential to kill his mortar with my own, so that's what I'm going to be looking to do. And I do manage to get a hit with the first shot. Spährupp are still trying to keep hidden. I've got them on return fire there. They're just giving me the information that I need. You can see that AT gun all the way back there. I'm unfortunately not in range with the 257, and I can't really afford to like push forwards aggressively just in case the AT gun kills me. So that's a problem that I have. But you can see there are some airborne engineers here. Airborne engineers, they are a bit of a problem for this combination if they get into the 100-meter range. The only way that I can really solve it is with things like the Panzer II. I was really hoping that this was like an airborne engineer and not an airborne rifle. Turns out it was an airborne rifle, and my Panzer II is in trouble in this position. So I've got to be very careful. Got to start reversing. Really lucky there that the bazooka missed the mark. And now my Panzer II will be able to continue the fire support onto those airborne rifles. I managed to get the 257 up for a quick shot onto the AT gun. Going to be taking that out briefly. But now we see the airborne engineers trying to make a move towards my Panzergrenz. Panzergrenz are going to be able to pin them down in the open, which will then allow the Fallschirmjäger of Jagdpanzers plus my Panzergrenz and the half-track to start pushing up aggressively. So the great thing about half-track in this situation is you can just aggressively push onto this and try and find a surrender. But currently my line's in tatters. Like on the left side, yes, my Panzergrenz and the Pak 38 are still holding for now. But on this side, it's not looking too good because Volhati managed to like connect his troops with Destroyer's front line. So it's causing us a bit of a problem here in terms of territory, even though we are finding some salients on the left side. Kira here got a little bit of a salient there. And on the far left, it looks like Genjev's not doing too bad. So the airborne engineers, they're in trouble. But so is my boy Firefly. It does get track wheel damaged by the first bazooka shot from the airborne rifles. I'm going to be trying to reverse away from that airborne rifle unit. I wasn't entirely sure why my boy Firefly was opting to fire at the airborne rifles behind it rather than the ones right in front of it. But either way, managed to pin down one of those squads. I was just getting sandwiched here by Volhati's amazing infantry micro. So there goes the Boys of Firefly, and that's both the Boys of Cromwell and Boys of Firefly down with no kills, which is absolutely awful. Like, it's probably one of the worst outcomes for the 12th SS. Also, meanwhile, the Spy managed to get right up into my Pak 38, take that out. So this left side's also really in a bad spot. Just to add insult to injury, the airborne rifle is going to find a bazooka shot into my mortar half track. So we've managed to kind of stabilize in this town area, but Volhati's done tons of damage to my back line by sort of coming around and hitting me really hard. So it's up to Destroyer really to push aggressively. Panzergrenz are kind of trying to hold the line here, but they won't do too much. My Spear Troop in the meantime do get discovered by the M5A1. Grenade doesn't really hit the mark and kill the half track, so the Spear Troop go down very quickly to the M8 Spy and the 50 cal of the M5A1. Panzergrenz, they're going to be forced back as well, and just in general, like you can see, the front line is very, very thin. I was lucky that Destroyer didn't just try to zoom through a bit quicker with the M8 Spy. The other good thing though is that we have just moved into phase B. So this is going to give me a chance to get some better armor on the field. With our reliance on the Boy to Cromwell and Boy to Firefly in the early game gone, I am going to now have to focus on things like Panthers, like Panther Ds more specifically, and also the Jagdpanzers. Now the 12th SS do get the 2-star Jagdpanzers, which I would definitely recommend having on your division. They are really, really strong and really useful. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do here. Save up for a Jagdpanzer and use that to control the open ground, and I'm going to have to relinquish a bit of territory. So that's the plan. Meanwhile though, Panzergrenz getting picked off. Destroyer could easily move in for the surrender there, but opted not to. She's going to be smashing those with the 50 cal for the time being. This Panzergrenz also going to be forced to fall back. I'm going to try and get my half track into cover here, but under pressure from a lot of different angles. That's the M8 as well, taking shots at the half track, and I'm not going to be able to have that there for too long, so I'm going to have to try and get it into cover. So just trying to hide it into a position where he's forced to come forwards, and my Jagdpanzer's finally on the field. So the plan here is to kind of bait these M8s forwards, kill them off with the Jagdpanzer, sort of, I guess, stabilize my line, and then push back. Because in the late game, like, the 12th SS can be a real powerhouse, but I obviously haven't got off to the best start. Panzergrenz here, they're also going to get hammered by 50 cal fire. Nueve pushing on them very hard as well, going to just be going for the fallback. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to run towards the French, but there we go. Airborne rifles also getting the better of my Panzergrenz down here, and it's just looking like absolute tatters right now. You're probably wondering how we managed to come back from this. Well, so far we have managed to push back and kill a lot of the airborne rifles that Volhati was using on the right side. So Volhati's eventually going to get weaker and weaker as the game progresses, unless he starts investing in an abundance of aircraft or maybe a lot of artillery. So he's not going to have too much space to move forwards against things like 222s and my Befehl Panzer 2C. He can bring in the M4s in phase B, but Jagdsource can also bring in Stugs at that point. So we will see that sort of balance out on the right side. But for now, it's all about using these 20mm autocannon units to kind of sweep up the rest of the airborne infantry. Now the Jagdpanzers just sitting out in the open here, quite happy for that to do so. Worst case scenario would be like an airstrike, like a Thunderbolt coming in right now and like rocketing the Jagdpanzer, and then like a thing like an M5A1 comes rushing down the road, or the M8 Spy or something, and just surrenders it. That would be absolutely awful. But thankfully that is not happening right now. And I'm managing to get a second Jagdpanzer. Now I'm bringing in this Jagdpanzer on the right road as opposed to the left road here, because I want to try and find a crossfire. So the Jagdpanzer on the right can fire in towards the left, and the Jagdpanzer on the left can fire into the right, onto things like the M5A1 that are trying to use this hedgerow to hold the front line forwards. So yeah, basically the idea is to just squeeze and get the angles onto these tanks and put them in a tough position. Now these airborne rifles, they are causing me problems. The Panzer II is going to be able to hit those pretty hard though, and so is the 222 when it opens up with the 20mm. So there goes the airborne rifles. A little bit of a miss micro there from VulcanHD, probably just wasn't paying attention to that specific unit, since Jagdsource is starting to press back pretty hard with the L6 and Fallschirmjäger combo. So I've stabilised. Jagdpanzers are on the field. M8 is hitting the Panzergrens, but I'm now also going to be bringing in Whitman. So just getting all this really strong long-range armour on the field that the 2nd Armoured is going to have trouble dealing with. That's the plan, at least. Now the Spy, they're going to be managing to take out this Panzergren unit, which was a bit unfortunate for me, because I really need some infantry to frontline for these Jagdpanzers. It's not so bad as long as the Jagdpanzers are kind of covering open ground, but as soon as they get close to things like these hedgerows, I'm in trouble basically, because there could be, you know, bazooka units or whatever. Now a 6-pounder has been pushing forwards. It's going to take out my Befehlt Panzer II, and just in general, like, I don't think I was doing very well in my micro at the start of this game. It was very, very careless of me, very sloppy. And there was a lot of things I could have done better. For example, moving forwards this Panzergren to one of these buildings, so I had the 400-meter range like machine gun to engage the AT. You know, making sure that this AT died sooner than later, because you can see I'm bringing up Whitman here. And like, the AT gun's plainly there, moving into the tree line, and whilst I was streaming I just wasn't paying attention. So the 6-pounder is going to be able to creep into that tree line there. Meanwhile, Whitman's going to be looking for the engagement with the M8 Spy and the M5A1, so that's not too bad. If I can clean up a couple of these light vehicles, that will be very handy. But to accompany these Jagdpanzers, I need infantry, but I also need recon, because the Jagdpanzers can't shoot at anything they can't see. So that's something I'm bringing in first. It also helps me spot the infantry that can then be engaged by the Panzergrens and the Jagdpanzer combo. One issue I will have is that the Jagdpanzers have a limited amount of HE, so if I want to use them against infantry in the long run, I will have to have them resupplied. But you can see Whitman doing his job. He does pick off both the M8 and the M5A1. I feel like Destroyer let that happen a little bit too easily, especially the M8. He could have hidden that again. But either way, Whitman just chilling for now. I'm also trying to manage this engagement up here between the airborne rifles and the Panzergrens. I was hoping that I'd be able to pin down the airborne rifles and find the surrender with the half-track, but that was not to be. Pi 41 Gerlich does come over and get a shot onto a half-track there that was really nice. But I hope you guys remember that AT gun I was mentioning earlier. Whitman's going to be engaging the Sapeur squad with the help of the Panzer II. And this 6-pounder is ready to strike. It's going to shoot and knock out Whitman, which was probably the best critical it could have got. It's going to engine destroy Whitman. And Whitman, taking his sweet time to get a shot on target, is going to get taken out by the 3rd shot of the AT gun. At that sort of range, it's not unlikely actually that the AT gun's going to hit, but when it hit this truck afterwards, that was pretty ridiculous, and that's going to be a Panzer Grenadier squad going down as well, which was really rough. So I've lost Whitman, I've lost the Panzergrens. Again, you're probably wondering, how do you come back from this? It's just looking impossible right now, and I was kind of feeling the same way. Jagdpanzer though does manage to clean up a 50 cal half track, which is a start. Spear through managed to take out the bazooka, exactly why I brought in recon to make sure that I couldn't have my Jagdpanzer ambushed. So that's all good. Now the Jagdpanzer trying to engage some infantry. But just in general, I need to make sure that this AT gun dies at some point, and I am going to manage to take that out with the Panzergrenz here. Then we got the Nueve in this building. Meanwhile on the right side, Jagdsaw still trying to make ground back against Volhati. But it is very difficult allowing the airborne forces to dig in so far up. You can see another half track's going to go down there. Also, I think recon went down to the airborne rifles. Like, things just aren't looking that great right now. So the Jagdpanzer anyway is going to try and help pin down the Nueve, but I was planning to move the Panzergrenz forwards, but then the mortar came down, so I'm struggling against that at the moment. Panzergrenz are going to find another bazooka waiting to ambush me. The Bofors squad is, or the GMC Bofors, is going to manage to make the Panzergrenz fall back. I was fortunate that the bazooka can't surrender that whilst the spear troop are nearby, because otherwise that could have been pretty rough. But the Jagdpanzer's creeping up, spear troop trying to finish off the infantry here. Also moving up this Jagdpanzer on the right now. Just again looking for these engagements, trying to cut off this M8 really. And just to avoid future surrenders, well, 232's coming in to give the extra veterancy, which will make both of these Jagdpanzers 3 stars. Now this is something that I potentially could have done sooner to avoid things like the airstrike I was talking about. But bringing it in late is better than never. So Panzergrenz clean up another unit of airborne rifles on that right side. Jagdpanzer is going to be under a lot of pressure here as the 57mm and the M10 start engaging it. Now at range, a Jagdpanzer should always win against an M10, but since there was 2 versus 1 and the AT gun's pretty difficult for a Jagdpanzer to kill, I am going to lose that engagement over time. There's also going to be off-map coming down here from Destroyer, which is pretty smart, but I had already moved back the Jagdpanzer. It does take out the spear troop though, that I wasn't too happy about. But since we are now into phase C, my income is at its highest point. We've got the 135 points per minute. We see the Panzergrenz coming in here with the half tracks, and we're going to make another half track and Panzergrenz push to try and clean out more of these airborne units. Jagdpanzer going to be able to get the track wheel damage onto the M10. It's actually pretty likely that a 3-star Jagdpanzer with 6 base accuracy is going to hit at that range, so it was a clean shot, like even with the debuff to morale. Going to be unloading some Panzergrenz here just to engage the Nueve. Mortar shots are going to come down though, which is going to make that difficult to push on. Jagdpanzer just trying to get up and close to this M8. But I've got sick and tired of these AT guns. It's time for the Focke-Wulf G1. Now these bad boys, they come in with the 25 HE power bombs. Very, very strong, and as long as it drops the bomb, you're gonna get a kill. So there, that takes out the AT gun in one shot. No longer have to worry about dealing with that with the Jagdpanzer. I'm just going to push more aggressively against the M8 Spy. The spear troop still nearby, so this Voltages is trying to get close with the bazooka is not going to be able to because of the 232. But the M8 with the first shot does actually get a crew knockout onto my Jagdpanzer. Only a matter of time until I fire back though, and driver wound is going to cause a lot of morale damage. Off map going to be coming down again onto the Jagdpanzer. You can see that he's moved forwards the M4A2 here just to put a lot of pressure onto the Jagdpanzer, but with my Jagdpanzer coming in from the right, I am going to be able to try and clean that up. So with the progress from Genjeft on the left side, props to Genjeft by the way, we have managed to bring it back to 52% territory lead for our opponents. They are just creeping over 900 points, but it hasn't quite been enough so far to push us out of the game entirely. With 17 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, there's a very good chance that we can try and make a comeback. So I managed to take out one of the M4A2s, which is a good start. I brought in another recon squad to accompany the Jagdpanzer and the 232 on the left here. And this combo is just going to be continuing forwards. You can see I've got the 232 on a follow command behind the Jagdpanzer. The great thing about the 232s is they can pin down infantry very quickly. So for example, this Sapeur squad is going to get spotted by the Spätrupp, and I can just use that 232 to clean up the Sapeurs. Meanwhile though, I am going to be losing a Panzergren to a surrender against these Nueva. These Nueva were being real stubborn. I was finding it difficult to pin them down because I didn't reload the Panzer IIs throughout the game. But I am going to manage to, you know, surrender those Sapeurs, and there's another squad to the left here that I'm going to try and get rid of with the 232. And regardless, I'm pretty sure I can push around the corner here. So I'm going to be trying to kill off these half-tracks while I'm at it, whilst the Jagdpanzer kind of covers me on this left side. You can see that Destroyer has brought in the M4A376 now. He's also brought in another M10, he's got the Bofors there, but the 232 is going to be rampaging forwards. Jagdpanzer managed to take out the M10, which is good stuff. I am going to be losing, I think, another unit of Panzergrens on the right side due to the machine guns of the airborne rifles. There's another unit going down here. Was still, like, trading infantry. But thankfully I still had plenty left. So it's a +1 now for our team, but you can see that we're going to need way more than a +1 in order to win. Jagdpanzer is going to take out another M10 there. 232 does go down to the M4A376 in the meantime. Spätrupp managed to take out a third bazooka squad in this area, so save my Jagdpanzer once again. But with it now being Phase C, Panther Gs are available. So that's what I'm going to be bringing in. You can see the Panther G down here, accompanying the Jagdpanzer on the push forwards, and that's going to be very, very difficult for the 2nd Armoured to deal with. Now this Jagdpanzer does manage to get the driver wound onto the M4A376. Can this shot get the kill? Yes it can, just as it gets pinned down. Very, very lucky shot here actually from the Jagdpanzer, because it was suffering a lot of morale penalties. I think I was also pretty lucky for the M4A3 to not penetrate the Jagdpanzer at that range. So that's all well and good. Panther Gs are going to be zooming up this road after those bazookas are gone. Jagdpanzer is going to take out the GMC Bofors on the left. Panther takes out the one on the right. This GMC Bofors I'm trying to take out with Panther G as well, but it is going to manage to get into cover, I believe. But taking out both of those AA vehicles does allow me to focus more on the Focke-Wulf 190s and those bombs, which basically enables me a way to clean up any 6-pounders I come up against from this point forwards. Because the French, they can't get anything better than 6-pounders, I don't believe, as AT. They have to rely on the M4A376s at close range in order to kill things like Panthers. So as long as I'm smart and I keep my angles, I should be able to sort of push aggressively, continuously, past all these different tree lines. And as long as I keep the recon nearby as well, that's also really important, just so that I can spot potential AT guns and so on in the future. So Spätrupp and another Panzergren are going to be coming in onto this right side, just continuing the trades with Volhati's infantry. But I think in general, like, the mistake that Volhati made here was he just spread himself a bit thin, like pushing himself onto me rather than just through towards like Jagdsor's spawn. I think kind of made me react to him a bit too much, and therefore I started trading with his airborne units. And by doing so, he ran out of the airborne units sooner than later, and that allowed Jagdsor's to really take advantage of that right side. But the Spätrupp here, they're going to be coming in. That Nueva squad still sitting there, still chewing up my infantry and spitting them out. It was an absolute nightmare. But I know it doesn't have AT, so I can get my half-tracks nice and close. Panther G is going to be coming around the corner here and popping that last GMC Bofors. And you can see I immediately buy the second bomber because I'm going to want to use that to clean up something like this M8 Spey, for example, or even potentially the mortars. I'm going to go for the M8 Spey though, just because there's nothing else really here that can deal with that right now. So just hoping that that finds the kill, and it does. Focke-Wulf 190 doing the job. So just got to make sure those Nueva die, and once they're gone, I'm not going to want to occupy this, I'm going to want to continue to push. So you can see I'm going to pick up the Panzergrenz once again. I'm going to pick up the spear troop as well, and we're just going to continue to drive forwards because there's just a couple of mortars here, maybe an infantry squad. But if there's an infantry squad, I can always just unload the Panzergrenz with the half-track and pin them down. Here, some Fusilier Marines are actually going to get a bazooka off onto my half-track. The Panzergrenz are going to be opening up with their MGs onto the Fusilier Marines. Good that I spotted those, because it does allow my Panzergrenz to potentially clean them up nice and quick. Also got the Panther G coming down the road still. We're making a lot of ground here. Just keeping mobile, making sure my recon's ahead. It gives me all the information I need. And now we're going to be seeing another Focke-Wulf strike come in. I do take out this mortar with the spear troop. But the idea with the Focke-Wulf is to bomb the GMC and kill off the M20 command at the same time. Also it pins down anything in the area. You can see the voltages here, even with the bazooka, are also going to get pinned down. And that's just opened up the front entirely. And I'm just going to continue to drive through. There's no need to unload there. We're just going to continue forwards. So this is what I was talking about with like the whole half-track play. Just, you know, using these half-tracks well to like support the front line. And just like unload the infantry and then reload them whenever you need. Very, very important. So here, again, yeah, just going to be unloading the Panzergrenz and just killing off the mortar quickly. Then I can reload them and continue forwards and just try and get as good a position as possible whilst my Jagdpanzer, Panther G and the Jagdpanzer on the left continue. Now at this point the biggest mistake I made was not having any AA. You can see that the Jagdpanzer does get bombed on the left side. The 232 actually dies. That's one issue with having the follow commands with the 232s, is that if they do come in with like 25 HE power bombers, the 232s can die very quickly. But really nice internal fragments there from the Jagdpanzer, and my Panther G is going to be popping the M3 half-track. Now with the bombs coming down onto the Panzergrenz here, I don't really have any infantry to support this Panther G, so pushing it this far forwards is pretty careless, but I'm just trying to clean up the M4A2 since that did get internal fragmented. And I can also look for the engagement with the Hellcat potentially. I am going to miss, which was unfortunate. The Panther Gs do have a base accuracy of 7 with the 1-star veterancy. Losing the 232 command vehicle really sucked. I've also lost the 232 command on the right with this Jagdpanzer, so I'm spread a bit thin at the moment. With any more bombing strikes, there is the potential that the Jagdpanzer, the Panther and so on can get surrendered, so I do have to be kind of careful about that, but we've made back a lot of ground, and since Kira has taken control of this town and Genjef's doing well on the left side, we've actually got a +2 at this point, and we will win the game in 9 minutes if this continues. But as I was mentioning before, AA was definitely lacking at this point in the game. Instead of buying in this infantry like these Stern Pioneers, I think I probably should have just invested in a mobile wagon or two at this point, just to make sure that these aircraft could be dealt with, because I felt like I just let these units get picked off because of the airstrikes. There was also the fact that the M5 gun did take out Jagdpanzer at close range there with the help of the M18 Hellcat, but there we go. Now I'm going to be bringing in 2 Me-109 G6 R6s onto the field, or into the skies I should say, to try and deal with the Spitfires. But as mentioned previously, without the mobile wagons on the field, the Me-109s are actually really vulnerable in this position, because the Spitfires, if they're micro properly, can definitely take care of my Me-109s. Now what ended up happening was my Me-109 automatically started going for the Spitfire Mark 9 here, whilst my other Me-109 did not. So I ended up in a 2v1, which was really, really rough. And then as I go with my other Me-109 to try and save that one, this one also gets singled out. Now, these Me-109s from Jagdsource were very much a saviour, but as you can see on this left side, the Panther G is going to go down. I'm not entirely sure what that was to. I think it was potentially this Hellcat managed to get a sneaky shot on, because the Fusilier Marines weren't close enough. But as this engagement continues in the air, my Me-109 is not really in a good spot. Policeman does go down, but the Spitfire Mark 9 gets on the back of my Me-109, and that means it's going to be dead very shortly. bombers do come in, they take out the Jagdpanzer, and that is all of my armor dead. So I'm once again in a pretty rough spot, in a sense that my front line is incredibly weak. But thankfully, because my opponent is playing the second armoured, I don't have to be too concerned about a strong comeback, because their income's very low. They have 115 points per minute, and if anything, it's just going to be like one M4 every now and then. Now, I've got a Panther G on the right that is going to be looking to engage this M4A2 at some point. The other good thing though is that I do have this Panzergren like way far up, just like holding that salient forwards. Without recon, it's going to be very difficult for Destroyer at this point to really identify where the weak points of my front line are. But having destroyed 2 Jagdpanzers and a Panther G, you'd kind of expect a bit more aggression. But it just really depends on what he had left at this point. So the Panther G is going to come around the corner, it's going to engage the M4A2, and it's going to get taken out. My bombing strike actually wasn't effective in pinning that down. It was a 25 HE power bombing strike. But the HS-129 here does come in and pin that M4, which allowed the Panther to get the kill. My Focke-Wulf 190 does come in with the bombing strike, manages to drop that onto the M5 gun. Wasn't a direct hit, so didn't actually end up killing the AT gun, which was unfortunate. Now we're going to see double P38 Lightning come in though and bomb my Panzer II, which was certainly a bit overkill. But Panzer II's now gone down. Poor chap. And yeah, we're just kind of holding. So Jagdsource did a really good job to like recover on this right side into the late game, because Vorhati put him under so much pressure early on, but it seemed as though Vorhati just kind of ran out of steam, and I guess was focused like so heavily on the ground that he didn't invest too much into his air force. Now we did see like the 2, I think it was like B-26B Marauders come in and bomb my Jagdpanzer, but ultimately that wasn't really too much of a concern, because there wasn't anything to really like take advantage of the kills. So we are going to see another bomber take out the half track this time, but the Panzergrens are still good to go. I've got the Speertrupp in position, Panther G's on the right, which is fine. I've got the Pak 38 that's going to be trying to take shots towards the left here. And now, one thing I have done with this Panther G, you may notice I've actually turned off the HE on the main gun of the Panther. This is a really good tip actually for if you don't want your Panther, like if you want to use an attack move command, but you don't want to engage infantry. Like just have the HE on your main gun turned off, and then your Panther will like only hunt for enemy tanks. Really useful. Now this Pak 38 does get strafed by the double Spitfire Mark 9, and once again having those mobile wagons on the field at this point would have been really useful. So I definitely missed an opportunity to bring in AA a lot sooner when my push was going really well, but some nice micro there from Jagdsource is almost going to allow his ME-109 to get the better of the Spitfire Mark 9, but not quite, as the GMC Bofors does save the day. So some Stern Pioneers coming in on this left side, just trying to take control of that orchard. I've also got the 2 Pioneers here just to make sure these tree lines are under our command. And these Panzergrens, they're being put under a lot of pressure, so I'm going to end up falling those back. But the Panther G is moving over to that side, just looking to clean up any units that show themselves. Brought in another Panther G to the centre, and this is, again, a real strong point of the 12th SS, is they just have an abundance of Panthers in the late game, and I think they are potentially one of the strongest late game divisions, but you really have to make sure that you utilise the Boys of Fireflies and the Boys of Cromwell in the early game. I think like there would have been potential if Gendef hadn't done so well on the left side early on. We maybe would have lost to like a +2, and that counter would have been high enough for us to not have won this game at the end. But thankfully, because Kira and Gendef were doing quite well on this left side, it did kind of make up for the fact that myself and Jagdsource had a really rough early game. So Sappers, they're going to end up showing themselves. Panther G is in position to just wipe them out, and the Sappers have to be in 200 meter range to use their bazooka on the Panther G, so no chance. Volunteers, they're going to get taken out by the grenade of the Pioneers. Well, they get pinned down by the Pioneers and then surrendered. Going to be wiping out another volunteers unit as well. Not entirely sure where that was actually. But there we go. Moving some infantry through the factory with Jagdpanzers on the right. But meanwhile, the Panther G is just destroying the sappers. He's going to snapshot the Stuart there. And we're going to see the Hellcat try and engage the Panther. Very, very cheeky moves here with those Hellcats, just popping them in and out of the orchard, using their superior aim time to really take advantage of the Panther G. Now, I think there was plans to make a play with the M5A1 here. You can see the bomber coming in, the Spitfire Mark 9. That's actually going to be going for the Focke-Wulf 190, but goes for the bombing strike onto the Panther G. And the M5A1 I'm assuming was planning to come round, but at the same time I bring in the Focke-Wulf 190 with the 25 HE power bomb. And although that doesn't kill the M5A1, I have the half-track already fast moving up the road, get a quick clean surrender there, save my Panther G from being side-shot by a Stuart, and all is well. So finally the mobile wagons appear. There's only 1 minute left on the game though, so very, very late. I think I just bought them in because I could at the end. Double P-38 Lightning Strike going to be coming in onto the Panther G. Actually quite lucky not to lose the Panther G to those bombing strikes, because they are big bombs on those P-38s. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much the game. I've got 2 Panthers on the field at the end. I'm bringing in another Panther G. No chance really for the second armoured to do anything at this point. On this right side, Jagdpanzers did take control of the skies, and by doing so really gave him a platform to continue his aggression. Volhati just completely out of steam on that right side. So yeah, all in all, really, really nice comeback, and I had a lot of fun playing this game. It was quite a tough one. I was stressing out at the start because Jagdpanzers losing ground caused me to lose ground because Volhati's infantry came in behind all of my units, like the mortar half-track and the Boy to Firefly and so on. But with a little bit of cooperation on this right side, with a couple of Panzergrens and my 20mm autocannon units, it really did help us maintain control of those buildings and then sort of create a springboard that Jagdpanzers could push back off of. So yeah, all in all, really, really good game. I ended up with a 2,989 kill to 2,855 losses. Not the best KD in the world, but obviously I lost so many units at the start. Boy to Firefly 200 points, Boy to Cromwell 120 points. I mean, even like things like the Panzer IIs dying, just losing like Panzergrens, so much stuff just died at the start. It was really, really rough. I lost 2 Me-109 G6R6s to the awful air engagement. There was many, many mistakes throughout this one, but I just thought it was like a really, really nice game to show you guys. Like, I don't always have like amazing games, but it was a fun comeback. It really was. Like, this was like a classic Axis game in Steel Division. So there you go. Jagdpanzers in the end, 3,104 kills to 1,930 losses. Decent KD. And Jinjeff pushing really hard, ended up with a negative KD, even though he probably made the most ground throughout the game. So if we just jump over to the kills, you can see how much this Jagdpanzer saved my bacon. In the early game, these are the kills that I got. I got 5 kills. The Boy to Firefly mowed down an airborne rifle with its machine gun. This airborne rifle got taken out by the 222. But like before that, that was it. Like, I got the mortar kill onto the AT gun. As soon as the Jagdpanzer comes in, solves my issues. Whitman also cleaned up the spy and the M5A1 that was handy. Before the AT gun just came through the tree line and killed it. Other Jagdpanzer, you can see just how useful these are. Killing off the M10s, the M4A3s, it's just really, really difficult for the second armor to deal with. And then the Panther G. And that's just like most of the kills. Focke-Wulf 190 also getting the surrender onto the M5A1 and the M8 spy kill. And then another Panther G. All that late game armor really, really just saving me and helping us win the game, which was brilliant. If we jump over to losses, we can see that that M5A1 half-track was causing me issues. The 50 cal that took out both the Panzergren and the half-track. The AT gun taking out the Cromwell early on was really rough. And then we lost the Boy to Firefly to the airborne rifles. M8 spies then could put on pressure quite easily because I had no armor left. AT gun managed to take out Whitman and the Panzer II. Really, really bad mistake there on my part, just not paying attention. Then I was coming under pressure from the Air Force, but thankfully not enough that they didn't focus on my like Jagdpanzers. Like if they'd managed to get some airstrikes onto those Jagdpanzers, there would be no way that I would come back throughout that game. The Jagdpanzers were the key to victory. So there we go. That's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that analysis of my replay, and again, make sure to check out the links in the description. Make sure to check out my stream on the weekends, and keep up to date on the community tab or on my Discord. Again, link in the description to that the Discord. It's definitely the best place just to keep up with current affairs. Just jump into the general chat and ask people, you know, if the stream's on and stuff. People often do, and I'm quite happy with people to do so. So yeah. That's it. Unfortunately, my voice is a bit rough at the moment, so if videos are intermittent, that would be why. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.